And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 234. So I hope you guys had a great day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with the Dingus Den. This is going to be his first appearance on the show, and I might as well just announce it right here because you guys have heard me talk about there's this other secret guy that I had coming on the show to do comic book reviews with, and that is actually going to be, Mr. Spencer, the Dingus Den. We are going to be doing comic book reviews, very, very soon. We were supposed to basically, do them right after this episode because, I always just like to, get to know the person I'm going to be doing content with, in a one-on-one, that way I can kind of, pick their mind and see like what's their mindset on, movies and TV and, video games and all that stuff actually. So with, Dingus Den here, that allows me to even tap into more comic book reviews as far as like, hey, if there's a week that Warren can't do it, we can go and do it. If there's some series that you're pulling that Warren or Savage Dad or Labs Comic Fan isn't, then Spencer can do it. So it's always good to have, more white people that reads comic books. I have two white people, one light-skinned black guy. Yeah, good. There's our diversity right there. Oh, Savage Dad's, what the hell is he? I'd be honest here, I've known that guy for a long time. I don't know what race that dude is, honestly. He's white of some kind, actually. So what's going on, man? How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Yeah, you can't complain. Beginning of a chill summer for me. So I'm very happy about that.
Awesome. So let's just get this out of the way. That way we can get to the fun stuff later on. How was your life growing up, actually?
Nothing bad. It's been good. Just can't complain. And so, yeah, right. Can't ask for anything better, honestly. I've had a lot of lucky experiences, and yeah, I couldn't have it any better way.
You had both your parents, actually?
No, but
see, I can relate to that. I didn't have my dad. As you know, black people don't have dads.
Well, I mean, my dad and mom split up when they were when I think like just before I was born, and so my dad's still around. I'm not close to him though, but I've done some cool stuff with him, but we're not close friends.
So how old are you actually?
21.
You're 21. Holy shit. Yeah. So I'm 30. So there's a 9-year age difference. So that means you're the generation after me. Holy crap. So you're Gen Z. Don't you got to deal with all these? You guys have the worst crop of women to ever exist on planet Earth. If you don't date, I'm not even gonna like shit on you for that. I wouldn't date these girls either. These girls are like, you just sleep with them and you just fucking leave, honestly, for keeping it real. But I don't know if you have a girlfriend or anything like that, but like, man, just fucking hell. The women here, your generation are garbage, man.
So something that some friends say about me is that I have a old soul. And so there's so many things that my generation does where it's like, I don't want to be part of this. Just I'm out here doing my own thing. I don't want to be part of that stuff, So,
what's interesting is I was watching this one lady go to that ICE facility that's in like New Jersey or whatever, and she was like interviewing protesters on literally why you're here, and she was explaining literally in verbatim detail what these people that are being deported are accused of, like child raping and all that other disgusting, heinous shit. And this person and the blue-haired lady, the blue-haired liberal lady, literally said, those people have a soul, they deserve rights. This is a child rapist. What's wrong with you people? Goodness gracious. What is wrong with people? If someone does heinous shit as far as like murder and raping children, you know what? At that point, you lose grace with me. It's look, it's like it's at that point in your life is when do you draw the line? If you don't draw the line at certain things, then I don't know what you're gonna draw the line at,
Right, yeah. You gotta have a solid line and keep it at that.
So let's start with comic books, actually. So growing up, what was your first like comic book actually?
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly what would have been my first because I recall what I got first time when I was at a comic store, but I don't recall if those were if that was the very first comics I got. I would say the very first one, the very first comics I remember picking up, one of them I still wish I had, was a Star Trek comic. I don't remember what it was. But then another one was just like a random Green Lantern one I picked up, and that one I believe I still have in my box somewhere. And so I remember those two being as the very first ones. But the comic that got me into reading comics is the Infinity Gauntlet. Jim Starlin.
Oh, that's the Jim Starlin character.
Yes, the
Yeah.
original Infinity Gauntlet. As I believe when I read that, I think I may have actually read that first before getting those single issues, because that's what I think drove me wanting to get to that go to the comic store in the first place. This was probably a little bit before Guardians of the Galaxy, within the year before Guardians of the Galaxy coming out, or months leading up to it, or something like that. And so, with me being 21, that would have put me at 10 years old when I would have read that, probably. So
yeah, it's crazy.
That's how it began.
You would be basically calling me a boomer. That is crazy at this point. And I'm not. I'm just hot, rich, and young at this point. But what's interesting about Guardians of the Galaxy? If people aren't actually reading Marvel comics and you're just following the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy, guys, hasn't had an ongoing series in forever at this point.
Yeah, they got
the last one was what? Brian Michael Bendis. His run was the last one that I remember.
His was because they had an ongoing, what they called it ongoing, but only lasted for 13 issues, including the annual. And so, last year or whenever when that ended, and so that was a good one. I liked it, but yeah, his was the last big one. Yeah.
Even
Al Ewing had a one for I think 18 issues. I haven't read that one though.
Because even Ironheart hasn't really had an ongoing in a while. The last one that she had got canceled in 5 issues due to low sales.
Right.
She just a few weeks ago, because we were talking about comic book weeks, just having really short weeks. Some weeks guys in comic books and you're buying them, you could be buying 10 ongoing titles with trades and omnibuses and all that stuff. And there's some weeks where you literally have maybe 2-3 things to buy. Right. Ironheart recently got a one shot that they delayed multiple times finally coming out. Ironheart, a character that they're literally trying to push on you right now as this new big character. It's she doesn't even have a current ongoing series. They know she can't sell comic books wise. The only way Ironheart really ever has any actual story implications is when she's shoved into Iron Man stuff. I remember Jerry Duggan's run, they would shove her into random events he would be in, and it's why is she here? With Ironheart, it's even weirder with her character because with Spider-Man, Brian Michael Bendis created Miles Morales, and that was from Spider-Man. Spider-Man's really popular, and then he creates Ironheart, which is Iron Man is not really that big, actually.
Yeah, he's a difficult character for me to read in the comics a lot of times. Not a lot of times when I read him, his character works for me. But I'll be honest, Robert Downey Jr. probably ruined that aspect for me. Because he just adds so much to the character, and it's kind of hard to not read him that way. And because you have to consider, for me, it's that is the main reason why I've gone to Marvel in the first place, was I was pretty much there from the very beginning. I didn't see Iron Man in theaters, but I remember catching the tail end of when Blockbuster was a thing and actually buying Iron Man from Blockbuster and watching Incredible Hulk from there. And that's I was literally there at the beginning watching all these things.
Yeah, for me, I remember back in 2008 when the movie dropped. We didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see any of the first MCU movies in theaters until the Avengers. I pretty much did the same thing you did. We just kind of bought them on DVD or torrented them in Minecraft to watch them. Actually, it wasn't until after the Avengers we started watching them in theaters. I remember after the first Avengers movie came out, I remember the crowd for Iron Man 3 was massive. I think it was packed to the brink. People just don't remember the MCU being just this huge thing where going to their movies was an event. I know people talk about Infinity War being their favorite. Just Infinity War itself was massive going into that. Civil War was very big. Thor Ragnarok, despite that movie being completely weird in itself.
Yeah.
Big turnout.
It's
Every
just,
movie of
yeah.
theirs usually has a random big turnout. I think they
Yeah.
have so many fans that even some of their like weaker movies that people just don't
Mhm.
know what to expect also have a decent turnout, and it still shows that people are still willing to give
Yeah.
them their time, but they just keep shitting on them for these bad
Yeah.
movies that have come out. Like, did you like Thunderbolts? Did you like that one, or did you go see that one yet?
I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was actually really good.
Okay, yeah, I thought it
So
was fun. It wasn't bad really, and it's a good time at the theaters, and that's all
mhm.
they need right now. You need to just build
Yeah.
that back up, just having a
Yeah.
good time at the movie theaters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh. Because I also think with Thunderbolts, they actually handled a lot of the power scaling pretty well. I thought they
Right.
handled like making sure that you know that a super soldier is much more
Mhm.
powerful than just a
Yeah.
regular human. I feel like the whole tapping into people's psyches was really cool,
Yeah.
because I think like in a lot of superhero movies, they don't really tap into flashbacks a lot, where it's like it's kind
Right.
of more like I tell you this, not show you this, so you kind of have a deeper level with the characters.
Yeah.
But I hope
Yeah.
for in the future, because I know they're tapping that guy who directed Thunderbolts to direct the MCU X-Men movie, and it's like, I guess we'll see how
I
it
mean,
goes.
he did a good job directing. It's just a matter of how they're gonna do the X-Men, and who
Yeah.
knows at this point. That's the problem. We just don't know how they're gonna handle this is the problem.
hmm So, what has been some of the issues for the MCU that you think they need to actually work on doing better?
Um See, my big thing is we're looking now into it's so weird where we're about to get an Avengers movie after the next movie, Fantastic Four, where Doctor Doom's the threat, and it's like, where's the setup here when you're talking about arguably the biggest ever villain versus we got so many different movies with Thanos leading up to Thanos, who was prior to then the biggest, right? And so I feel like they've built themselves in a really weird hole here because it's like, well, the only movie that they have to even set up Doctor Doom, if they even choose to set Doctor Doom up, and it would only be in a post-credit scene, is Fantastic Four. And even then, how they're going to handle Doomsday, I think I kind of have some issues with of like, depending on like how I think they're going to handle Doctor Doom, of like, uh, like if they're going like this more route where Doctor Doom isn't really like what Doctor Doom is,
Mhm.
kind of like a reverse Infamous Iron Man is what I call it, because remember Infamous Iron Man having that idea where it's Doctor Doom taking the Iron Man mantle. It's the other way around in this case, right? Iron
Mhm.
Man taking the Doctor Doom mantle, because it's like, why else would you get Robert Downey Jr.? Because if see, that's what hangs me up. Is, don't get me wrong, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, but it's like, I don't know. There's so many better actors that I feel like could have been in that role, for instance.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. Like, a lot of my issues with this, like, I think they're too late down into like trying to fix it. Overall, though, like, while a lot of the stuff hasn't been great, I've enjoyed more of it more than I haven't, to be completely honest. Like, not necessarily saying it's great, but like, um, the Marvels, for instance. I didn't hate the Marvels. I don't think it was a great movie either. It has its problems, but like when I just went there to just watch it and have a fun time, that's what I got out of it. It was just a fun time despite whatever problems that it did have. And so um I don't know. It's just been kind of messy overall, though. Like that's the thing, is we don't
How do you feel about the
have,
TV shows? Do you feel like the TV shows haven't really been doing them any favors? I think that's been contributing to people not
see.
liking it
Okay.
more. I
All
think
right.
they've been hurting
Sure.
it more than helping, honestly.
I could see that. I actually didn't finish Daredevil yet. I actually barely got like into Daredevil. And one of the reasons why I haven't gotten into it was because I was that first episode actually pissed me off with how they treated Foggy in that opening. I was like, you make this be a continuation of the Netflix Daredevil, and you just kill him off like that. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know if they're trying to do with that storyline or not of bringing him back necessarily. And I know there's like a reference to that storyline, and so, but it's like the way they did it. Even if that was the case, I still think it was done in a very disrespectful way. And like I said, it just pissed me off. No, it ain't making me want to watch much more of it. I will get back to it, especially now that I'm over, 2 months past my initial emotions of that happening. But
I'm starting to over the way they treated me in my time with She-Hulk.
Oh God. We don't talk about that. That and Secret Invasion is like as low as the MCU can go, I hope.
I swear, like the TV shows have done way more damage to their brand than they even know. Like just drawing out these shows to where like you would feel like doing an 8-episode show is easy because you factor in no filler. You can just get right to the point. But some of these shows are literally just basically movies that they're just broken up into shows. They're not, but the show aspect wouldn't help it out because if it's shot as a movie, it wouldn't do the plot any favors because if you just stretch that out over like 8 episodes, then that's just going to have massive pacing issues for a lot of people. You know?
Well, I think that was their big thing with Daredevil is they realized they needed to redo it. And for the most part, I heard people liking it and that it did good things, but they still had some issues to iron out that people are hoping that they get, better with season 2. And so that's the big thing with Marvels. I think they're learning in that aspect, but, to a point though, it's like, I do wonder overall though, of like, just like, is it too late? Could they bring back people in? Like, it's kind of hard though, because I think they've lost the trust of a lot of viewers and trying to fix that's very hard. And I don't know. I think they're very much within their own kind of hole right now, but I still think Doomsday and Secret Wars will make its money, though. I think Secret Wars, just from its name alone, is going to make a bunch of money, though.
Yeah, that's what I said, too. I think just because they're called Avengers movies, people will go and see them in mass, actually. I don't know if they'll make as much money as Infinity War and Endgame and Ultron and the first one did, but I think they'll make a lot of money. It's just they just don't have the same level. Well, and Secret Wars different because we have to see Doomsday first to know the impact of what Secret Wars might bring. But going into Doomsday, that might be the first Avengers movie that I'm thinking about that has the least amount of hype going into it. Because every single Avengers movie had massive hype going into it, like big events. Like going into Doomsday, I'll be honest with you, like you said, I just don't know. I literally, I guess, surprised me.
I think it's going to be Fantastic Four is going to be the big thing to really help lead into it. And so that's why it's like, whatever that in credits is, you assume people even go to Fantastic Four, which like that's the kind of big make or break in a way of like if Fantastic Four doesn't do well, what's going to be the drive for people now go to Doomsday if there's nothing until then? And so
because Doomsday's coming out in 2026 and if Secret Wars is 2027, that's the only 2 movies that they have set for both those years. Like Thunderbolts right now, it's crazy because I don't hear that many bad things about Thunderbolts, even though I've watched it. Its word of mouth is pretty decent, but the box office for it is just not good. And the trades are all lying about it. It's weird because Captain America: Brave New World completely failed as far as like box office wise, and Thunderbolts is literally doing the exact same thing. It's actually even made less money so far still. It's only been like 2 weeks, I think, 3 weeks going into this one. But
initially, no, you're right though. When you delve into it, it's really rough numbers for him, which is unfortunate because I think the movie deserves a lot more love. As it's out of the movies that are like from say just after Endgame, like it's one of the better ones. Like I'd rank it fairly high for me, or pretty high for me, I think personally, and so. Like, it definitely deserves more love, but it's definitely a case of, like, when you're looking at it, I feel like it's kind of a hard sell for people that doesn't even know what Thunderbolts is, especially when half the time Marvel doesn't even know what Thunderbolts is. And so it's kind of a hard sell.
It's also disgusting because in the comic books as well, guys, if you don't know, we did a video recently about this. There was a new Thunderbolts comic book series that was supposed to begin, and then based off of what happened in the movie, they're like, you know what? Yeah, this is not the new Thunderbolts. This is just the new Avengers. And you're like, like in the comic books, the reason why I know it's not genuine is because that literally just happened right when they did it with the movie. And the movie, they were like, you know what? We don't actually have an Avengers team, so we'll just call these guys the Avengers.
Right.
It's like, so you didn't even have hope this team could be its own thing without putting like an Avengers label on it. It's like, I don't know if that was a prediction they made or it was always in the works to happen.
That new logo for the comic always had the asterisk, so
Hmm.
I don't know why I didn't connect the dots of it. But like I did notice that it being like a thing of like, oh yeah, it's making a reference to the movie because they always do new stuff related to the movies like around that time. And so like for instance with Brave New World, they put out that Captain America Sam Wilson like miniseries where he goes up against Red Hulk. It was like was it a 5-issue miniseries or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I remember that one.
So
You know what's interesting about Brave New World? People didn't know is that the usual intro they do, the one that does the
yeah,
dun 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 dun, like they didn't do that in Brave New World. They kind of barely did the intro in Thunderbolts. I don't know what's up with them. Why are they think, okay, guys, we can get you back in. We won't even have the intros. I was like,
yeah,
what?
I
It's
don't
like the least of your problems.
I don't know. I don't have a big issue with it, but it's definitely some interesting choices they've made. So I don't know. I'm hoping things will work out because I'm one of those people where I don't want to necessarily like per se hate on things. I want them to be good, you know. Like for me, it's like I've pretty much grown up with Marvel, like for
Yeah.
so long, right? And
Hmm.
so it's a thing that I'm a genuine fan of, and it's like it's it hurts when you're seeing something that you do genuinely love just start not doing as well.
Hmm.
Because I remember for me, it's like, okay, I really like this idea of what they were doing with King once they revealed, hey, King Dynasty was a thing, and then it's leading into Secret Wars. That's like, okay, I can get into this idea. Oh, Quantum Mania is complete garbage. I don't want this now. And
And then the main villain gets beaten by ants. So why am I
oh
even
my
scared of
god,
that guy? Like,
I hated that movie
it's like
so
they're
much.
trying to intimidate you. This is the new big bad you're supposed to be scared of. This is our new
Yeah,
main villain. He gets beaten by Ant-Man. So
yeah. So see, that's my problem is they were making the Council of Kings be the threat, and Council of Kings, if I remember right, they only have like 2 or 3 main comic
mhm.
appearances, like ever, and then like one other appearance in something that's not even canon. So it's like this idea of what they're making as the main threat isn't even a main like idea in the comics, and it's not does not represent what King is or who King is, and that's what really annoyed me about it. And then rumor has it how they're going to bring back King is that he was going to be like some sort of Beyonder villain that he was
Mhm.
going to turn into after like taking whatever power where Ant-Man sent him in Quantumania. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this sounds terrible. This isn't who King is. I wanted King, not what this is. And so like that's one thing I'm actually very happy with Doomsday
Mhm.
is that sure we have no setup, and while I think they're changing things for Doctor Doom, and while I'm not necessarily liking per se what they might be doing with Doctor Doom, I still think it's going to be better than what we could have gotten with King.
Oh yeah. You know, King Dynasty was supposed to come out. What was
On
it? A,
Thunderbolts, the day Thunderbolts
a
came
Day of
out.
Thunderbolts came out. Yeah. Did you enjoy King Dynasty? I heard it was getting a rave reviews.
Oh yeah,
I love the part where the Avengers got together and said it's King time.
it's King time. Oh my gosh.
I love when Yelena did that. When she looked at the
Yeah,
camera and said it's Thunderbolts time. I love that.
Thunderbolts time.
Actually what the movie needed. Oh gosh. But like I don't want I always tell people this, I whenever I go see a movie, I want it to be good. Well, just in
Right.
the aspect
Yeah.
of I'm working and I'm paying my hard-earned money to go see this stuff. I want it to be good just
Sure.
off a base level. I want it to be good. And then
Yeah.
you just notice that so many things just started going bad. Like it's only, I mean, to be fair, like you said, only they can really pick themselves out of it. But like, is Ironheart gonna be doing that? Is Ironheart gonna be
Yeah.
stepping in the right direction? Because Bob
See, like
Iger was like,
that's
Thunderbolts supposed to be a step in the right direction. Okay,
see, it's such an interesting thing where Ironheart I know has never really been liked in the first place. So it's like, why are you doing Ironheart? It,
yeah,
it's not the thing that you want right now when there's so many other like characters that you could go into. Uh, I don't know what they're doing with this honestly, and so and thing is though is like when I heard the initial idea of Ironheart, like before we saw any trailers, this idea of tech versus magic, I'm like, I'm on board. This sounds cool. I like the idea. And then I saw the trailer, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm so on board with this anymore. And so I hope it's better than it looks, but
it's just the way that they do TV. It's not even the characters that they pick. These
sure.
aren't TV shows. Like if I just have to go and watch a superhero TV show, watch them, not just compare them
Yeah.
but based off quality, just in consistent storytelling. Like
Yeah.
they are just, you're like, what is going on? And what is going on here? 8 episodes, you can't just get straight to the point. It's like
Yeah.
Smallville, which had like 23 episode seasons, is getting to the point faster. It's an
Yeah.
8 episode show. It's like, Marvel, what are you
Crazy.
doing? In the comic
Yeah.
books too. I think people forget this with Marvel comics is like X-Men specifically has just went through another initiative called I was from the ass, a new butt plug or something. And then that just has been having a slew of issues in of itself, like cancellations on many titles and everything. They don't even know what to do. It's crazy. How am I supposed to expect them to have an idea of what they want the X-Men to be in the movies when in the comic books, they don't even know what they want the X-Men to be.
Right. Yeah, I've seen Rob Liefeld recently, like I think like a week or two ago. I want to say last week. He sent out some sort of tweet just absolutely destroying the X-Men editorial team. And I was like, wow. That's how you know things are bad. Yeah, X-Men has a lot of issues. I think their main like 2 series have been good from what I read of it. I fell off on it like a bit ago, but
when they had the new initiative, right?
Yeah, with their new initiative.
Did you read Uncanny X-Men and just the regular X-Men book by Jed McKay and Gail Simone, or you read something different?
Yes. I read those 2, yes.
Okay.
I read those leading up to the what is it called? Raid on Grey Malkin event when they first started crossing over. And so I read it up to then, and I'm like, I need to pull some time or stop, like just take off a few titles. So I was like, now's a good time for me to just put you off and I'll get back to you later. So I think the only main Marvel title I'm currently pulling is Wolverine, and that's just because Wolverine's my favorite Marvel hero. So
anything else you pull, because that's not just on, because I know you pull stuff from the Marvel Comics app, don't you?
I go to my local comic store. I keep all my pulls actually on a app called League of Comic Geeks.
Yeah, I have the one too.
That's my stuff. I'm trying to think of what other Marvel stuff. Like any other Marvel stuff I have, I'm looking through here and it's like the only other Marvel thing, which isn't even actually pulled here because I just recently pulled it and didn't add to my app, is the Godzilla Marvel stuff.
Oh, where Godzilla insert versus popular Marvel heroes.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, and I know X-Men just came out.
Are you getting the new Wolverine ongoing series by Saladin Ahmed?
Yes, that's the one I'm getting. Yes.
Is that one actually good? Because I actually bought like the first few issues for it.
I've enjoyed it, and so it's been good. I think it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
The thing that I enjoy from Marvel right now currently is Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate X-Men.
Sure. So
Ultimate Wolverine is really good. Awesome. I enjoy that a lot.
I actually just recently bought the Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 2 trade to read.
I did too.
So I'm going to be reading that here sooner than later. Maybe, I don't know. I have a gigantic like to read pile of crap.
Yeah, as you guys see from my stacks over there, there's a lot. Of
I don't have my stacks here, but it's all it's a bit far off there, and so. But yeah, mine's pretty big, and it's only like 1 of 2 stacks. It's like I need to crack down on actually reading a bit this summer, which is I need to just make the time for. But of course, I'm getting distracted with other stuff, which is just how it goes, right?
See, he's secretly married, guys. That's why he's getting distracted. See, he's fooling us here.
I know, right?
Comic books over women. See, there you go.
Life.
That's why I say books over women all the time. So from your so I was gonna go over your channel really quickly. So I'll ask you this. What made you actually want to do a YouTube channel? Were you like inspired by someone?
Yeah, so it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. And then right before COVID, like a month before COVID, I actually got involved with a small channel. Actually, you because it's actually how I met you at the time. Do you remember Lunga? He was doing great counsel.
I remember him.
I actually found him like a month before COVID, and that was kind of like my doorway into these smaller YouTube communities. And so, and so just through Lunga, I've met a bunch of different people, going into one community and then kind of finding, one person to lead into another. And so like I've kind of gotten into like some different communities here, and after being involved with a bit of them, and the other big thing too is actually getting the tech to be able to actually do so. The upgrade of actually at the now better internet or great internet now to actually be able to support it and everything. But yeah, that was the main thing of just I was inspired by a bunch of different people and whatnot like that. But even before then, there was different things where I was like, I don't know what I exactly wanted to do, because as common as it is for like my age, especially of like just going in and watching like all the different gaming playthroughs people would do, but like, oh yeah, hey, let's make some videos of just like me playing about stuff. Or the whole idea of doing comic stuff, I was like, before I got into it, I was like, I just know I want to do something comics because I love comics, and especially with getting deeper into it even more so. When was it? Few years ago when I kind of went all in with it, where, because before I'd read like a mix of novels and a mix of comics, and now I primarily read comics. I read some novels every now and then, but not as often as I used to.
Novels stuff.
Yeah, right.
Reading with no pictures, I can't go back to it. Not even gonna do it.
It's a harder adjustment, even one with smaller chapters. It's funny because I bring that up because it's like that's why I'm actually not reading much right now, is because I'm actually I'm a big Star Wars nerd, and so there's a new novel that just came out that deals with it's actually kind of topical with like all the stuff going on with Andor, and so I'm trying to read through that right now, and even though it's like a book with like smaller chapters, it's still the flow of that versus comics. When I haven't like touched a novel in months, it's like a little bit to adjustment to get back into.
For Star Wars comics, the only stuff for Star Wars comics I've ever gotten is just Darth Vader stuff.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. Is I say I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I really don't pull any of the Star Wars stuff.
Are you getting the newest Star Wars ongoing series that just started?
No, I didn't pull it. If my comic store has an extra copy, I might get one, but there's no guarantees that there to be any left.
Because I noticed on your when you do your comic book reviews, you do them with primarily the one guy with the one hat who has the guy who's wearing the White Sox hat. Actually,
oh yeah, Steve from Rumble Nerd Radio. Yeah.
So you met him through Lunga, right?
Well, kind of a chain of people through Lunga in a sense. Kind of a community where that's one of those cases of where I was kind of talking about just like being involved in a chain of communities. I through Lunga, I met this one guy who ended up being a douchebag, but besides the point, through him, I met a few friends who I'm still really good friends with now. But then one of those people who I don't talk to anymore, I then found this whole other podcasting network that's Star Wars themed, and through him specifically, Steve is his name, that I do my show with. That's how I met him, and we just recently started doing a show called The Comic Den. We actually started up this year, and we've been
reading comic books weekly. Crazy.
I know, right? We've been keeping it up weekly. For the most part. Obviously, there's some days we take off, such as Easter, or whatever. But we've been doing our best keeping up with it so far, which has been awesome.
Does he have Twitter or anything?
Yeah. I can link you out to all this stuff.
Okay, here. I would love to talk to him. Just seems like a guy that
absolutely
would know a lot about comic books.
Yeah. He's obviously with being an older dude.
You also did a Comic Den episode with Nerd Reactor.
Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, damn. Nerd Reactor, man. I haven't heard of him in forever. Hopefully he's doing good. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, you actually had a slew of people on. Yeah, because you.
Yeah, I've been doing. I've been trying to do better about reaching out to different people and just collaborating with different people. Like how I reached out to you initially was, I used to watch your stuff. Like I remember I told you this in my message of like, I remember watching you, like it would have been at least a year, maybe even 2 years before I even made my channel. Like it was a long time ago when I was involved, like watched your stuff.
I knew I had a lot of lurkers, actually. I just had a feeling I did. And I always have to be I tell people this, you always just have to just be yourself. And I know people aren't gonna agree with everything I say. It's just obvious. Sure. But
I know back then I wasn't active in the chat, but I know I would say some things every now and then. Part of that was the thing though too of like I've really been happy about this personal journey that I've been on, where when I even first met Lunga, I was just kind of like just scared to chat in the chat there, just typing, right? Not even verbally saying anything or anything, right? Just putting up the comments there. And so I've really been happy about this personal journey of like when I'm talking about that being a little over 5 years ago, look at me a few years later where I'd even be scared to type anything, a single sentence. I now have my own YouTube channel. And so I think it's been something cool for me personally to help me grow in that way.
Also, I always tell people this: before you have a channel versus when you actually do have one is entirely different. Like
Right.
I think specifically holding a conversation is really hard for like
Yeah.
not like new people in general, but it's also what I've noticed with like indie comic book creators that don't have a personality as far as like a
Mhm.
content creator one, because like some of them
Mhm.
just aren't content creators. They're just like they promote their book and they make their book. They come on, it's like, hey, you got to give me more, brother, because I can't do
Sure.
this. I can't do the one word answer shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be out, because like if someone doesn't value your time, I feel like that's just insanely disrespectful.
Right.
To,
Yeah.
you know, I don't like
Absolutely.
how someone can't ever have any point in their life voice their thoughts on how they really feel about
Yeah.
something is
Yeah.
crazy to me, honestly.
For sure. Yeah, I mean it's definitely been something of like in my case it's just like I whatever it is, it's like it's hard for me to like solo do something, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm really at the point where I could really do something fully by myself, to be honest, until I actually start getting into that. And I've had the other thought of trying to do some stuff like that. I just haven't made the leap to actually do that. But yeah, like I'm at the point where it's like all my things are kind of more conversation based, like all like the stuff you do, where
Mhm.
it's all, let's bring in somebody and let's talk about this topic, this comic, it's whatever the thing of discussion is.
Yeah, the other thing I've noticed when you have more of these discussions of videos actually
Sure.
is that you get the balance of perspectives of both people.
Yeah.
That way, like generally the reason why I like them more, even than doing solo stuff, because I still do solo stuff. The issue
Sure.
here is like it's much more easier to get a video done when we're doing the actual show versus like booting up and doing it myself. And also if I forget
Mhm.
something like I forget a narrative or I forget a part of the story for a video that we're going
Yeah.
over, if you remember, you can bring it up. You can be like, "Oh, I remember this would happen." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
glad you were
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I
See,
forgot
that's the
about
thing,
that."
is so many people really help out with stuff like that. And so that's what's great about having certain people I do different sort of shows with and whatnot. For sure.
Also, the last time you did a live show, you did it on the best creator owned comic series.
Yeah.
Man, the fact that TMNT was creator created like that, and it was they didn't
Yeah.
know it was gonna work. That's just the
Yeah.
story of just
Yeah.
fucking hell.
Yeah, me and Steve just picked like a bunch of our favorite series from like Image or Dark Horse back then with Hellboys I have up there, and just different
Mhm.
stuff that we're like, let's just have a topical show where we kind of talk about what's great out there that's not necessarily Marvel DC. Our very first episode of that, we did an episode where we just talked about like what is just some of our favorite stories in general. We each picked five, just our favorites. Not saying they're necessarily our top five favorites, but like our five favorites to highlight. And so, and I picked mine for reasons of like, well, this one's special to me. Like my number one, for instance, I put up there Infinity Gauntlet because for the reason I told you of, that was the comic that got me into reading comics. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd be into that. Like just reading comics in general. Like that's the comic that really got me into wanting to read. It got me. I mean, big part of it was obviously MCU and seeing like, oh, they're doing Thanos stuff, and I jumped on that train very early. But like from there, though, reading that comic, it made me want to go and look at all these different comics that they're doing that is related with Thanos and collecting all that different cosmic stuff that I love the cosmic Marvel stuff. I want them to do more. And so, but anyway, besides the point of that, it's just, yeah, like that's it, highlighting the stuff that we really like. And then we try to have a good mix of different stuff that we do.
Oh gosh, like with the hype around Ultimate Wolverine #1. God, I remember
Yeah.
that comic book, Ultimate Wolverine #1. If anyone hasn't read it yet, has
Mhm.
one of the coldest endings to a comic book I've read. It's that part where he was in his head and Nightcrawler's like monologuing and he's just looking up with his face. And it's just so damn good.
Yeah.
That easily has to be one of the best comic book floppies I read the entire year. When I do like a top 10 comic book floppies that I read for the entire year,
That's
toward the end
interesting.
of it, Ultimate Wolverine #1 has to be fucking in it. There's no
Huh.
way it can. I absolutely love that first issue. And the issue 2 was like,
That's
oh, this
interesting.
is so good. Like this is actually
Yeah,
really like,
sure.
and then Marvel with Ultimate Spider-Man, I've only read the first trade. So I've read the first 6 issues. So
Sure.
good. Just insanely good. Oh,
Yeah,
like wow,
yeah,
and Jonathan Hickman, I've read a lot of his stuff. He's the
yeah,
slow writer. This man writes very slow. But Ultimate
yeah,
Spider-Man was different. He was writing very fast. It was getting to the point. Things were moving, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, this is good. Like the
yeah.
ending of the first arc. If yes, I recommend buying Ultimate Spider-Man, just the first
Mhm.
volume of Married with Children. Read that. And if you don't fall in love,
So
love with the
good.
story, you're heartless. You actually have no soul, honestly. If you actually read
So
that
good.
and you have no
Yeah,
soul because you don't like it,
yeah.
I can't look at you anymore.
Yeah, it's a great story, and that's what I really liked. I need to catch up with more of the Ultimate stuff. I actually never pulled any of the Ultimate stuff as it came out, except for like the one shot or stuff like that. And so I need to read more of it for sure. What I have kept up with though is the Absolute stuff, and I've been loving every single bit of that Absolute stuff I've been
Yeah, I
reading.
have all that too. Yeah, I just have to
So
get to
good.
more of it. The only so I wasn't the so Absolute Batman. We just finished reading issue 6, the first arc. Absolute
Oh,
Batman was
nice.
good to me. Absolute Wonder Woman. It's solid. I feel like it's a little too much slice of life sometimes for issues, but I thought it was solid. I have to get through the rest of the first arc.
Yeah, it's pretty
Absolute
solid.
Superman. I only read the first issue of Absolute Superman, and I was like, wow, I just did not enjoy this. I was like, this is
See, I
boring.
really see. My thing with Absolute Superman was when they first were coming out, I was like, I don't even know if I want to pull Absolute Superman. I
Right.
read that first issue and I was like, I actually really like this idea of what they're going with. And I stuck out with it, and I actually have personally really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But the big thing for me is like I really enjoy this like peacemaker concept that they're doing with it. But then also the big highlight for me is the new look at Krypton, and you're seeing a whole new take and a whole new look into Krypton on how it blew up and the events leading up to
Mhm.
its destruction, which I think is really cool. I thought leading into and just making it different for this absolute universe. And so, like, I can get how some people wouldn't necessarily enjoy Absolute Superman with it being just kind of how you see Superman and doesn't very much feel like Superman. But I think at the same time, though, it very much fits this universe of a dark side created universe where if everything's some way connected to a dark side energy or whatever, it makes sense that your Superman would be darker in these ways, I think.
Did you ever finish getting through Alien Paradiso? It was the newest Alien
No.
ongoing series.
No, I only did the first issue of that, and I
Did
haven't
you
read any more of it.
did you
I
enjoy it at all? Oh,
it's an
okay.
interesting first issue. I would read more of it, but I'll probably wait till it's like all out on the Marvel app to read.
Yeah, because the thing with certain series like Alien, I know they're just waiting to get it to like 12 issues to relaunch it with a new number one.
Yeah, so that's the thing with Alien is I actually read a lot of those Aliens. I read like because when they first brought out Alien, that was a big deal of like if you remember then that was like Marvel gets to now do the Fox properties. Like that was a big
Yeah,
deal because
yeah.
the whole stuff going on. And so when that happened, that initial what was it, 12 issues were great. I thought that was a great 12 issues of
Mhm.
Alien. And then they did their second one. Was their second one 12 again, or was it 6 issues? Anyway, point is, whatever that second one was, I was like, well, and I'm not really into this one as much. It's okay, I guess. And then like from there, I've kind of just fell off on it. Because they keep on rebooting it, and it's like, well, I mean, I guess it could be kind of cool, but like, it is. And so, but Paradiso though had a very interesting idea with it, I think, and that I would say overall that was a good setup issue, not necessarily a great one, but like it had its cool moments that it did.
Mhm.
And what helped me in particular with that video was having somebody that was a huge Alien fan to really help delve into and make these connections to the universe that that I wouldn't have seen or didn't even see at all. And so, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's
so
cool.
the only thing on your pull list for Marvel is basically just anything Wolverine, and DC is just the absolute universe, actually.
DC, I have a lot more. Hold on,
Just I
I'll pull it
actually
up.
I tell people I like DC and Marvel both, but I definitely have more DC stuff on my pull list than
See,
Marvel.
I think DC with All In, which I think has been a great initiative for them. I've
Mhm.
thoroughly enjoyed. There's not a single All In thing I've read. I haven't gone out to read all of them, but there's not a single All In thing I've read that I really haven't enjoyed. Like I think they've all been great. Like I've really enjoyed
Mhm.
them all. Here, hold on. I can pull up my list of stuff here. So all the absolute stuff. Of course, I'm pulling Batman because it's Batman, and it's Hush 2 going on, and so sequel to the original, which that original Hush story is one of my favorite Batman stories there is. I think it's probably my second favorite Batman story. And so with that getting a sequel, it's
Did you
like,
like
holy crap.
did you like Heart of Hush as well?
Heart of I don't know if I've actually read that one.
Yeah, it's the sequel to the first Hush, but it's
Sure.
written by Paul Dini, and I don't think Jim Lee, I don't think he counts that towards his
Yeah,
Hush story. Because if you look at the Hush omnibus, they have it over there. Heart of Hush is not in there.
that's
I don't know
funny.
what. That's crazy. Why would they not? I guess they don't consider that. It's like anime. I don't consider this canon to my story. You
Yeah.
even do that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't read the second issue yet, but I thought it was a pretty solid first issue, and so it's pretty
Do you
good.
like 158?
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
it was a good start. I mean, I think Jeff Loeb's a great writer. I think he's
Yeah.
one of the industry's maybe one of the industry's best. As he's written so much great stuff, and so I'm looking forward to seeing more of where that journey is going. And Jim Lee's great as well. Like his art's amazing. Shout out to Jim Lee. Like I don't want to necessarily like brag about this too much, but he is such a nice guy. He visited my little local comic store, which is like literally a small little hole in the wall store. I believe it was around later last year, like November ish, give or take a month or something like that. I don't exactly remember when, but like he just out of the blue, he was coming to town because apparently he had some sort of like event going on in my area that he was doing with his family and whatnot. But he took the time out of his day that morning to go to the comic store, and like so many people line up. Like it wasn't even a thing that was announced until the night before. But to go to such a smaller place that you wouldn't think he'd go to is like, oh wow, that's so cool. So
He's
one of the nicest guys.
I'm actually glad that Hush 2 ended up making the stores actually order a lot of a book, because it just shows you right there that if there's something that is of interest that the stores think is going to sell very well, they're going to put their money into it to actually order those titles. It's crazy how the amount of people actually don't know how a comic book store literally makes money. It's the same way in like most nerd stuff. People need to generally understand this. Is like there's like the person is the publishers, then there's the distributors, and then there's technically the retailers. So essentially the comic book stores are ordering stuff from the distributors, who obviously get it from the IP holders, and the stores essentially just hope that they sell enough of the stuff that they bought with money up front to keep their stores afloat. And consider the fact that there's Diamonds that going out of business, and that's going to hurt the stores that were under their catalog. That actually sucks though, that Diamond is leaving, because they didn't understand how to make their business model work. That's actually not a good thing.
I do wonder how much it's actually going to hurt the business. From my understanding, I'm not going to say I have a great understanding, and you probably have a better understanding of it overall than me. But to my understanding, though, like almost all the major publishers now aren't through Diamond, and that's one of the big reasons why they were dying. And so, if it's not going to affect your main lines, I don't feel like it's going to be that huge of an issue. It's mainly just indie stuff that it affects.
Yeah, because I think when it comes to like Marvel and DC, at least right now, I think, as you said earlier, DC is doing, I think, better. They had better ideas, or trying to execute on them. But like the DC Compact Comics is one of them that is just
that's a great such idea. A brilliant idea.
I actually shitted on it when I first did House Guy. I was like, this is stupid. I actually didn't like the idea. Then when I saw it, I was like, this is a great idea. I was smoking literal crack. I don't know what I was on. But it's a great idea.
I've talked to a couple people where they bought those, and like they never really got into comics. And part of the reason too is like comics is an expensive hobby. We're talking about all these titles and stuff coming out. And we're like, holy crap, there's a bunch coming out this week. Like, holy crap, there's so much. And when you're like spending that all the time, it's like it's such an expensive hobby. And I think it's a great affordable way to get into, especially some of these huge stories. Like they're coming out with or just came out with, I don't know the release dates of a lot of these, but like Kingdom Come, or having All-Star Superman, like so many great stories that and we're talking about like some of these big stories, like All-Star Superman's 12 issues. That's like, was it normally $30 whenever you like buy the trade for it now, like the regular size trade, and now there's this compact version for just $10. It's like, what a deal that is. What a great entry point for people to get into it.
And then Marvel they did their Marvel Premiere Collection after seeing the success that
Yeah.
DC Compact Comics did on theirs, and it's like, okay, you guys are just fucking, oh, good lord, and they're
It's
charging
like,
more money. Theirs are $15.
yeah, and it's a kind of a weird selection of stories too. Of like, these are the ones you're wanting to put out first for this line. I can understand like one or two of these, but I don't understand the other two of why you're doing this. So, and DC's, I haven't gotten it yet, or any of them yet, but DC doing their World's Finest, I think, is great as well. Right? Isn't that what they're called? The like collections of like the older stuff that they're doing.
Oh, their newest Epic collection line. So it's the DC's Finest collection.
Yeah, DC's Finest. Yeah, those.
Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's essentially basically what the Compact Comics are. They're just like Epic collections. So
yeah,
basically the Compact Comics and Marvel's Epic collection did basically a fusion dance. That's what the DC's Finest books are.
Yeah,
the only problem with the DC's Finest books is they don't actually start from a legitimate volume 1 like Marvel's Epic collection does, because Marvel's Epic collection start from the very beginning of where a character exists.
Yeah,
DC's is kind of just random all over the place. I was like, it sucks that they can't start from the very beginning, but I'm like, you know what? It's
like
fine.
The stories and stuff that they've offered so far, I think, is a very solid one. And the one that I thought about trying to buy, I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, though, is the Action Comics one, where it's literally like, was it the first 20, 30 something issues of Action Comics? It's like, what a great collection to have available now.
Yeah, Superman. It was the Superman first superhero. You can get like Action Comics #1 in the first 20. Like that's great. Honestly, they're doing it for Batman too. Next year, January, Batman has his first appearance.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, man. DC has some really good ideas so far, and they're also putting some of their reprinting some of their older stories as floppies. They're giving them to Dollar Tree. I think that's cool to have. Like comic books to be in like big box retailers. I hope they could put them in more retailer stores outside of Dollar Tree, but Dollar Tree makes like just them being all I wanted comic books to just be in front of people, just be accessible. I think the biggest problem with them is that people just don't know they exist because they're not in front of them. Like the average person, when they're going to a store, is thinking about so many different things. You're not thinking about comic books. You put them in front of like the candy section or the gum section before you check your items out. That right there, so you get people in. Like a kid getting a comic book like that could make them a comic book fan for life when they get older and they can afford books at that point.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the biggest problem of it, is like when you look into it, there's, you know, now to get your comics, unless you're just reading them digitally, the only way to physically get them in, unless you're ordering it, is you have to physically go to a specified comic store, or maybe it would be like comics and tabletop games or comics and collectibles or something like that. But point is, though, you have to go to a specific store, where in so many places it's like, well, the closest comic store could be an hour or two away from you, you know? And so it's just, that is the biggest problem, just trying to figure out the ways that you can get it in front of you. And that's the thing, though, too, of like the, you know, places like Walmart, they have their book section, but they barely ever carry comics there.
The only thing they carry there that would be considered comics is just manga related stuff.
They have manga. Well, I've seen like Last Ronin there a couple times, and I've seen
yours is not. All we get basically is random My Hero Academia volumes, One Piece. I stumbled upon a Berserk.
Like
hardcover.
Mine's
like,
had all that. Yeah.
Of the Walmart that's like 30 minutes drive from here, they'll have like the One Piece 3-in-1s, which is essentially like an omnibus for One Piece.
Yeah.
Like other than that, that's all Walmart really carries. And it's crazy the fact that like I heard Target is the one that carries the compact comics. Like I would love if my Walmart carried some of those, but they don't, because my Walmart in this town is a piece of garbage. Actually terrible. Actually, any Walmart you think is good, mine's is actually 10 times worse.
Like all I remember seeing from Walmart, at least within the last few years, would have been, I remember seeing the Last Ronin, and I remember one I actually bought was Blue Beetle Graduation Day, because I was like, oh, I haven't seen this, and it's like some Walmart exclusive where I had like some sort of poster or something with it. Just I think that poster is somewhere right behind me, actually. But yeah.
So with the DC movie universe, the one that's new, the DCU, did you actually enjoy the DCEU overall?
See, like looking back on it now, it's such a mixed bag. Like there's some stuff you like, there's some stuff I like, there's some stuff that's like, I would say I enjoyed it overall, despite it being very dysfunctional. I mean that in the ways of like this whole universe was built around Zack Snyder's movies, right? And his movies, I enjoyed those movies, but I now look at them as like these aren't main DC. This is off world or Elseworlds. That's what I was looking for. Elseworld stories. Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, Dark Superman, that's not who Superman is. Dark Knight's Return Batman, don't get me wrong, that's a good Batman story, but like that's not your mainline Batman. And so if that's the main inspirations, it's like that's not what it is. So like I enjoyed his movies. Like I think Snyder is a great director, not necessarily saying he's a great writer. Some of his scripts could use a bit of work, but overall I enjoyed Snyder as a creative. And even though he brought in not necessarily mainline DC, I enjoyed what he offered if I thought of it as Elseworlds. And so with that caveat in mind, I enjoyed those. Especially kind of now after the fact of it not necessarily being a main thing anymore. It's kind of like, yeah, I appreciate those kind of their own thing. Like Snyder's Justice League, I felt as if was like, I'm not one of those like Snyder cultists or whatever you want to call him, right? Like, but like I enjoyed that movie though, and I thought it's on the better end of DC movies or of that era of DC movies. But then
for DCEU, it's such a thing where it's like they had so much potential, but then they clashed with Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
it's just so much stuff. Like for me, they should have known who this guy was because he literally directed Watchmen for them. Like what? 4 years prior. It felt like, because I know they basically hired Christopher Nolan, basically put in the final good word for him. And it's one of those things where I understand people like Christopher Nolan a lot, but that doesn't mean the fact that he can't make that he can't have bad ideas or have things where he stumbles upon. Because I just don't think Zack is the right fit for what DC wanted back then.
I completely agree with that. And so, like I was saying, is that even though I definitely enjoyed those movies, it was a very dysfunctional universe where the main pillar of this isn't representing what DC mainly should have been, right? Because then you had some good side stuff of like, well, Wonder Woman, that first Wonder Woman movie was good, like, and that I think overall did justice from my understanding of the character, did justice to the character. And so, like, you had good side stories like that with some of them, but then other ones, like, were garbage. The first Suicide Squad movie, just garbage to me. I was not a fan of it.
Oh, yeah. That's damn.
Garbage.
Fucking hell. Why'd they even release that? And
yeah,
I don't understand why they couldn't just release what the guy wanted to put out. Because there's no way what we got was any way worse than what he could have given us from his vision. I actually don't even care if he gets his movie. I think he just should do it. They should just put it out at this point. It's not going to change anything. They have a new universe they're doing anyway. And I think James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, that was so fun. I really enjoyed that one.
See, on the other end of the spectrum, that is, I guess, of what would be considered DCU movies, that one's probably my favorite of those. I loved his Suicide Squad so much. And that's part of the reason why I'm very excited for this new universe is I love James Gunn, where I've loved him since Guardians of the Galaxy. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, when that was coming out, that blew my mind of like, I love space stuff. And I've grown up with Marvel. So seeing Marvel stuff in space, it like blew my little 10-year-old mind at the time where I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. And so I love that. And so anyway, point is like, I love James Gunn, and seeing his take on Suicide Squad, I think was awesome. I really liked his stuff there. I really like Peacemaker. Can't wait for season 2 of that. And yeah, I think he's going to kill it with Superman. Honestly, I'm really liking what I'm seeing with his trailers and whatnot. I think is good. He understands the character. I think is the big thing. Unlike what Snyder gave us.
It's also something where with James Gunn, I don't know how someone with his track record just isn't even given the benefit of the doubt. He did 3 Guardians movies that people like. I mean, and then you had Suicide Squad. Then he had Peacemaker. Then he had Creature Commandos. The only thing I haven't seen of his superhero stuff is Guardians 3 and Creature Commandos. But Peacemaker season 1, I really enjoyed that. That was really good. Like, these guys did some really good superhero stuff. And he even did it with a group of characters, which has kind of been like superhero movie kryptonite, where if you have like a large group of characters in a movie for
Sure.
superheroes, it usually gets pretty muddled. But James
Yeah.
Gunn managed to do it very well. And I'm one of those people that I think he's going to deliver a great Superman movie. I read his
I think so
interview
as well.
that he did with The Wrap. I was like, this guy pretty much gets it. I mean,
I think
I don't know if it's going to turn out to be a good movie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I think based off his track record, I think him of all people, hopefully, if he can deliver a Superman movie, he should be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any personal red flags. Like, I know there's some things people have brought up that are reasonable concerns.
All right, James.
Like, for instance...
Hi, Darth.
What's up, Chris? Like, there's a reasonable concern, I think, of, you know, James Gunn is known for team-up movies, right? And team-up projects in general. And seeing all this cast of characters of Maxwell Lord's heroes that he's, you know, involved with there. I know a lot of people are concerned about it being turned into a team-up movie. I don't necessarily think so. I think Superman's still going to be at the core of it. They're just going to be big supporting roles. So we'll see what happens, though. It's going to be interesting, though, because we are seeing a lot more side characters to a degree in this movie, I think, than what you would normally think from this is your first Superman movie.
That's
but at the
my
same time,
biggest concern there is what you said. It's like, because that's what people criticize Zack Snyder for. It's like having a bunch of these characters here that don't really add anything to the plot. And technically, when Zack's BVS movie, that would actually have less characters, honestly, than what he's going to bring into the fold. Like, all I've said, as you've heard on the shows, is as long as they're adding something to the plot and they're not just going to be kind of like what Ghost was in Thunderbolts, where she was just kind of there to exist, with just a few dialogue interactions. I hope they're not just that, because if that happens, that's on a massive more scale. Because that's not just one character. That's like 5 characters right there that could just be essentially, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey, I like you, Clark. I'm never going to see you in the plot anymore. It's like, well, what the fuck was he even here for then?
Yeah. I've heard promising things with its test screening, so I'm hoping that it's really good. And it's been my most anticipated movie of the year. It still is. And so I can't wait to see.
Not Ballerina with Ana de Armas.
It looks good, but like I'm nowhere near excited for it as I am Superman.
You're not even going to be excited for a Final Destination, right?
That is not my cup of tea at all, right there. I'm not a big horror person. Well, okay, there's some horror stuff I've grown to like, but the thing of where it's just like kills for fun that are like I kind of put in, like, from what I've seen of the trailer, I haven't seen any of those movies or anything, but like the one franchise that I'm just like, it's not my thing at all is Saw, because it's like you're just doing all these weird, gross, glory kills, you know, painful kills. That's like, I don't want to watch that. That's not my thing, and it doesn't feel good. I don't like it, right? But when I saw the trailer for the new Final Destination, it's like, okay, the story seems interesting, but how they're doing the kills is kind of like in a similar wheelhouse to that. Not quite that, obviously, but like it's kind of a similar thing to me where I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's my cup of tea. And so I'm glad that people are looking forward to it. Like, I have a horror movie friend who's really looking forward to it, and I know he's going to be trying really hard to see it tonight. So I'm hoping it's good for them.
Yeah, because I'm trying to see, the next time I'm supposed to go to the theaters is for a movie that's not coming out this week, but I'm going for Ballerina. That's what I'm going to see next. That's it. Yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Unless I'm good, because what does June have? Honestly, I don't think June really has anything.
I'll have to look. I don't remember what June has.
Unless you're gonna watch Karate Kid Legends.
We'll see how that turns out. I'm pulling up a thing right here of a bunch of stuff, but let's see here. I know there's a couple things that came out that I'd like to catch. Like, there's a difference of going between my local theater and, you know, the bigger theater, which is, you know, a bit more out of my way.
Yeah, that's where I take my wife. The bigger theaters, can't take her to the small one. Mission Impossible. Yeah, I didn't see Mission Impossible 7
I'm gonna watch that
last time. I don't know if I have time to catch up on them, but I've seen the first 6. I really enjoy the Mission Impossible movies
Yeah.
actually.
So
They're
like
very
I would
good.
like to do a double feature with that and Lilo and Stitch.
How is your brain gonna remember these movies? Oh my god, you're gonna be fried. You're gonna be completely done.
I would like to watch both of those. Karate Kid, I don't know if I'll watch or not. Oh, the week after they're doing is the re-release for Dogma. I'd like to check that out if possible.
Let's see. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
there's a same day as Ballerina. There's the movie from, oh my gosh, what's his name? Wes Anderson, The Phoenician Scheme, which I think looks like an interesting movie there. June also has How to Train Your Dragon, which I think will be interesting. 28 Years Later looks interesting.
How to Train Your Dragon might be insanely big. Might be depending. That's DreamWorks that does that one, right? I think.
Yeah, there's a movie I'd watch every week. Not saying I'm going to make it out to go to every movie here,
Oh
but
yeah.
there's a week every week of June I would go watch. Ballerina being the big one to begin with for sure. I'd go watch How to Train Your Dragon, and it looks like it's going big for IMAX as well, which should be interesting to check out. 28 Years Later and Pixar's Elio coming out on June 20th could be interesting. And then June 27th, Megan 2.0. I haven't watched the first one, but if what I heard about the initial if what I heard initially about the rumored for the plot of that movie, it might go make me watch the first one. But also F1 seems interesting. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, like 28 Years Later. I didn't see the first one. But
me neither.
Yeah. Like certain movies like that, people are like, oh, I just want people to go back to the theaters and have a good time. Yeah. I just like, do you feel like when you go to your local theater, like there's just feels like the interest is dead. Honestly, it's just so sad.
I think July is going to be the big month when it's opening with Jurassic World, and then you have Superman the week after, and so that's what I'm really looking forward to. And those two in particular are two of the movies I'm most looking forward to, and so I think it's going to be a big July. I'm hoping, and I'm hoping both of those bring back a big drive to the theater, much like what Barbenheimer did.
Yeah.
So
last few things I'll ask you, man, before we head out of here is, do you have anything planned coming up in 2025 that you would like to let the audience know about?
Check out the Comic Den weekly comic podcast that we go live on Sundays. We are still trying to figure out a new time slot with Steve's new work schedule, but right now scheduled for 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central Time. Check out the Comic Den, where we're going to talk about the first volume of I Hate Fairyland, which I haven't read this before. Steve loves this comic, so we'll see how it goes. What else am I having? I'm trying to think if there's anything else playing right off that. I have some other stuff coming to YouTube. Nothing set dates yet, but especially since I'm free over the summer, I'm going to be trying to put out some more videos and different series and stuff. You saw in the chat earlier, Darth Pyron, Chris, we've been doing stuff called Shell Talk, which is our TMNT podcast series. And we began with talk about Last Ronin, and then we've been going back and talk about the original Turtles comics. And so we're right now working through their Ultimate collections. And my goal is I'd like to get those done by the end of the summer, being done with the classic era of Kevin Eastman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff, which I know is kind of ambitious, as there's a fair bit of that, but that's kind of our goal, where we're wanting to hit hard on that and go with that stuff, as we're both Turtles fans and want to go through that.
Did you guys enjoy there's the current run by Jason Aaron right now for the team?
We haven't got, we neither of us have read any of it yet.
Okay.
We're right now just going through, we literally just started with Last Ronin, because it's like, what better way to start a Turtles podcast than talking about Last Ronin? And then we were like, all right, let's go back to the beginning, and we're just trying to make our way through it right now. Last one, it was really interesting because we talked about Turtles' first ever crossover, which is with a very obscure character now, somebody named Cerebus, the Aardvark. Mm-hmm. He was like a bigger character in the 70s. If you try to find anything on him now, you're not finding anything. But that was the Turtles' first ever crossover, was with Cerebus the Aardvark. And so that was interesting to go into, because especially now when you see Turtles having so many different crossovers, Batman, Masters of the Universe, Power Rangers, you're seeing all this stuff with them now, but their first ever one is quite interesting. And so there's some interesting ties in that story as well that we didn't even realize had a big effect in one of the recent TMNT shows as well. And so, but yeah. Other than the YouTube, I do game on Twitch, so go check out if you're into gaming stuff. Twitch.tv/
Love
the
your
Dingus Den.
hot tub streams.
Hot tub streams.
God, man, I'm not. Good Lord, Twitch, what has happened there?
I've had some decent success there so far.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
streaming there, doing some gaming stuff, and so right now, other than multiplayer stuff, because if somebody wants to play something, I'll be like, sure, why not stream it, you know? But right now, my current single player run through is the new Doom: The Dark Ages, as what Doom is one of my favorite ever game series, and currently playing through the new one that I've been playing a lot of Doom in the last few months leading up to. So I'm very excited to really delve into it.
Hell yeah. And last thing I'll ask is, do you have any shout outs you want to get to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we end the show?
Shout outs. I mean, you know, there's so many great people that's helped support me along my way, and I'm very grateful for all that. There's, you know, if I shout out every single person that helped me, they would be here for another hour, you know? And so, but in particular, you know, just thank you for having me on so much. I really appreciate that. And shout out, you know what? Shout out to Darth Pyron in the chat, who's here for a bit at the beginning. I think I think it's somebody you might actually know.
Yeah, I do. I haven't talked to Darth Pyron in years. Hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah. We've actually been great friends. He's the reason who really pushed me into having this channel stuff. We did a bunch of collaborations before I even had my channel, and helping me with my channel, and we've been great friends. And so shout out to him for really helping with a bunch of this stuff, and doing even more so as I'm getting more and more into it.
Also, I did message your friend Steve, so just let him know I hit him up on Twitter. So if you got a message request, that would be from me. So
alrighty, I'll let him know.
I know he does he loves his Batman. He loves his Bat Cave.
He does his Bat Cave. He does, and his Star Wars.
He says he likes that Hush animated movie, We're Fighting in the Streets. That movie.
No. We all hate that movie.
That movie is right. The movie is literal trash.
we don't talk about that movie. Oh my god.
If there's ever a video I ever wanted to do is just destroying that oh Lord. And then the argument they gave was that, oh, we had to change him because everyone already read the story. It's like, all right.
No,
like,
you didn't.
I don't even want to apply logic to that retarded statement, actually.
See, the only thing that kind of justify with changes like that is or can kind of get behind was like, A Long Halloween is my favorite Batman story ever. But the movie, it kills off like the main, you know, person there involved with the story. Spoilers in the comics, but like the way they did it in the movie, though, it's like a change that made sense while they didn't need to. It worked versus Hush just being like, no, this is stupid.
Yeah. So just letting you guys know, we're also gonna try to have more comic book reviews. The ones that we're gonna do when I get the time, which shouldn't be anything late. It should be very recent. Just gotta make sure my schedule is intact. We're gonna finish up Wolverine Revenge. So as you guys know, I read the first issue of Wolverine Revenge. I actually enjoyed it. Despite a lot of people not like it, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was actually very fun. It was kind of, I had no anticipation going into it. I was just like, okay,
yeah,
the cover art looked pretty cool. I saw some of the interiors. I was like, this could be kind of cool. I only read issue 1. And I enjoyed it, but I have to read the other 5 issues, which I do have. I have them all physical over there, actually. So we're going to end up reviewing the rest of Wolverine Revenge. Nice. And then after that, I think I'll probably have us review the rest of Wolverine Deep Cut. I only reviewed the first issue of that one, and then I have to read the rest of those issues. But one is a 5-issue miniseries, and almost a 4-issue miniseries. And Marvel, can you please just bring back Chris Claremont? I read Wolverine Deep Cut, issue number 1. That shit was amazing. Why is this guy not writing? Why is this guy not writing X-Men right now? What is wrong with you? But he understands his value. He's not taking less money for the worth that he knows he's going to bring to the X-Men. But yeah, can't wait to have Dingus Den back on when we review comic books, actually. I just want to say thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show, and we'll see you.